Welcome to another ranking. Today we're ranking the spacey, cosmic, symphonic black metal band Arcturus, from the albums from my least favourite all the way to my favourite. Now this is a band I got into like a couple of years ago. Jamie showed me an album and I really hated it. I was like, this is terrible, I don't like anything about this. And then jump forward a couple of years, I really like them now. I like pretty much all the albums they've done. And I think they're a really unique band, and, you know, they cater to my tastes. And I'll be seeing them live soon, so I'm excited for that. So yeah, here we go. Ranking Arcturus from my least favourite to my favourite. Let me know down below your favourites, and let's get going. So coming in last, we have Sideshow Symphonies, which is, a pretty good album. It is a pretty good album, but it's easily last for me. Not because it sounds the worst, or it's like inherently terrible or anything like that, but it's just the most flat and bland to me. Now, for a long time, I did have a different album as last. I thought it was a bit too wacky and weird, but I've grown to love that album. You'll know which one I'm talking about. This one, however, has always just been kind of mid. It's good all the way through, but nothing special, nothing's jumping out at me, nothing stands out on this album. It's just a fairly good album by the band, but nothing compared to the early releases, nothing compared to even the album that came out after this. So Sideshow Symphonies is just kind of an okay album. I wouldn't pick it over any of the others. Definitely wouldn't pick it over any of the others, but it's still pretty good. So I'd still recommend checking it out, but for me, it's coming last. Next up, we have the latest album, Arcturian. Bit of a tongue twister. It took me about 3 times to say that. I was like, Arcturian. Which is a fantastic album. I think the step up in quality between that and this one, astronomical. Really love the sound on this album as well. Sounds so crisp. Let's give it a listen. Really fresh sound, and I'd say this is a good starting point for people into the band. I would say it encompasses the whole soundscapes really well. Really enjoy this one. I mean, the first track, so just mind-melting. You know, instantly what you're going to get yourself in for. Blasting off through the stratosphere into space with some weird cosmic times. That's what you get with this album, and it sounds the best. You know, it sounds the best out of all of them. But lo and behold, it's not my favourite because the songs on it just don't grab me as much as songs on other albums. So although I really enjoy this one a lot and I think it's much more interesting than Sideshow Symphonies, it's still only here. Coming in at number 3 is La Masquerade Infernal. This is the album I hated for a long, long time. That's right. As soon as I heard this, I was like, what the hell is happening here? It's easily the strangest album they've done, the weirdest, the wackiest, just the completely insane album. And it's not like anything else they've ever done. They do ham it up on this album. They really do. But I've grown to love it. You know, I've grown to love like the weird nature of this album. And all the little strange vocal parts he does, so good. I could even have this a bit higher. It is growing and growing on me a lot after every single listen, so this might even grow to be my favourite sometimes, but I think my favourite's set in stone at the moment. Such a weird album, and if you're struggling to get into it, I recommend keep listening to it like I did, because, you know, I hated it at first, I was a hater at first, and now I'm a lover. So yeah, La Masquerade. Very weird, but very good. Number 2, probably controversial pick, Aspera Hiems Symphonia. Bet you thought this was going to be number 1. This is that classic, like, early black metal sound. You know, it kind of reminds me of stuff like Limbonic Art, Hecate Enthroned, that kind of symphonic black metal sound, and, you know, the sound is perfect. This was my favourite for a long time, but then I dived deep into my number 1, and it just blew my head off. It just blew my head off. My head's rolling down the street. But this one is the classic one, you know, for all you fans of early black metal, like early Dimmu Borgir. I know they share members, but yeah, early Dimmu Borgir, Enthroned Darkness Triumphant, stuff like that. And again, like Limbonic Art, Balsagoth maybe, stuff like that. You'll love this album. It is a classic for a reason, held in high regard. I love it. It's like a 9 out of 10. I need it. I need it. And I keep listening to it, and the melodies within, so good every time I listen to it. But yeah, one album just knocked it off the top spot for me. It was close, because the sounds are very different, but my number 1 is the Sham Mirrors. This is just Arcturus to a T, because the first album had this kind of early black metal sound, like the sound-wise, the screaming. It had a bit of Arcturus kind of later flair in there, but not fully blown until this album. This album just, it got Le Masquerade and just perfected it into like this cohesive, masterful album. And when it starts off with those transmissions and that kind of alien voice and hits you with that great melody and the cleans on it, so catchy, the cleans on it are amazing. Everything about the Sham Mirrors is fantastic. It's like a perfect symphonic metal, weird cosmic symphonic metal album. The Sham Mirrors is just, it's magical. You need to listen to this album to believe it. It's one of the most unique albums in black metal. There's nothing much like this album. Just like the band itself, there's not a lot of bands like this, and this album especially is just heads and shoulders above the rest, for me, personally. Other people may disagree, and you're entitled to. That's what the comment box is down there for. I can understand people preferring Aspera, and you know, there's days where I do, but at the moment, this just hits all the right boxes, all the weird boxes, and it's just a complete masterful package. So yeah, the Sham Mirrors, love it. It's my favourite Arcturus album of all time. Let me know down below what your favourites are. What do you think of my list? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know, and we'll see you again on another ranking video.